Friday, February 13th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Meteorologist Matthew East here. A lot to talk about. Let's get right into it. First of all, bitterly cold conditions in the mountains this morning. That's a look from the Banner Elk webcamera, courtesy of resortcams.com. Temperature there in Banner Elk is 2 degrees with a wind chill of 9 below zero. Many mountain spots are really chilly this morning. And of course, a lot of folks clicking on the video this morning to check out the wintry weather potential for next week. I'll spend a lot of time on that as the video unfolds. But again, here's your current temperatures up in the high country this morning. 4 in Linville, 7 atop Beech Mountain. There's that 2-degree temperature in Banner Elk. These are current temperatures across North and South Carolina during the 5 a.m. hour. 30 in Myrtle Beach, 29 in Columbia, down to 22 in Greensboro, 26 there in Greenville, South Carolina. And when you factor the wind into the equation, 3 below zero for a wind chill in Boone, a lot of teens for wind chills in the North Carolina foothills and Piedmont, down into the upstate of South Carolina. These are current air temperatures across the eastern U.S. Very cold in many spots, especially the northeast. And then you look northward, and we are awaiting the beginning of a plunge of even colder air to cross down from Canada into the northern plains and the Great Lakes. That happens today. It's very evident here on Futurecast. Watch this. There it goes. By late tonight into tomorrow morning, there comes that next blast of cold air that rapidly takes over across the eastern part of the country, and that's going to be an even colder blast of air for many of us here tomorrow night through the day Sunday and then lingering on into early next week. Today, Arctic high pressure over the Tennessee Valley. You can see that cold front just below the banner up there. That is the next Arctic front that gets here by Saturday evening. We're going to be looking at some high clouds at times today, as you can note there on the modeling. But overall, really the big story, just a chilly day. Here's your highs across the region this afternoon. Certainly pretty chilly Friday weather. And then milder briefly tomorrow, just ahead of this incoming front. That front then plunges through and the frigid air takes over tomorrow night into Sunday. In fact, as that Arctic air mass is blowing in tomorrow night, check out these potential wind chill values. First of all, milder ahead of the front, as I mentioned, but then watch the wind chill values as we get into tomorrow night and Sunday morning. A lot of folks single digits and some sub-zero wind chills across the Piedmont zones and foothills. So early Sunday morning, wind chills could be as cold as 20 to 30 below zero at times up in the mountains early Sunday. And just a really cold day all day long on your Sunday, with high temperatures struggling to make 30 and probably not getting there in a good number of Piedmont and foothill locations. Now, I'm going to show you a lot on this here in just a minute, but this is the broad overview of the most recent run of the European model, bringing in a little round of some snow Monday and Monday night. Again, I'll get into the specifics of this coming up, but the bottom line is that it does bring in some snow Monday. A lot of disagreement between the timing and the placement of these features still in the modeling, but there's the European footprint of snow with this system. Let's get to the more detailed modeling. So let's just start there with the European model. This is the precipitation Monday afternoon. That's all snow in North Carolina, Tennessee, northern South Carolina, and basically northeastern Georgia too. There's the precip Monday evening. That continues to be snow in many of those same areas I just mentioned. And then watch what happens after that. This is overnight Tuesday night. So 24 hours later, long precipitation event continues along the coast, but it's really a much less amplified system, so you don't get a ton of the precipitation up here in the colder air. Now, there's a real significant battle ongoing between some of the various models, and I'll show you the Canadian solution here in a little bit as well. And you're battling the idea of suppression versus what was a much more amplified system yesterday. And finally, there's the last European chart I put in here. That's Wednesday morning. System tries to throw some precip back in the colder air, but doesn't have a ton of luck. This is what it looks like aloft on the European model, 90 hours and then 126 hours. Now, let's go to the GFS. Now, this was the 0Z run of the GFS. So this is Monday morning. And then notice that system just kind of dries up Monday as it tries to push into the region. Now the 0Z run here as we got into, let's see, this is Tuesday afternoon and evening right there. System did manage to pop a low along the coast that threw some light snows back into the cold air in much of North Carolina and the upstate of South Carolina. And then that snow line moved eastward as the system strengthened offshore. But the 0Z run of the GFS, let's see, this is it right there. It is Suppression City. everything off to the south. Now here's the Canadian solution. You can see that precipitation shield a little bit further, a little bit further to the north and west, and then that exits off to the southeast. Canadian snow totals look like that. Pretty good snow event, Tennessee Valley into southern North Carolina, and decent snow event in northern South Carolina. Let's see. Well, what else have we got? I didn't put the charts on here to respect copyright issues and whatnot, but the UK Met is a big snowstorm for Tennessee and North Carolina. And again, the European is not a bad snow event at all across the state of North Carolina, northern South Carolina. It's just, the idea, if you were following on Twitter or Facebook yesterday after the 12Z models came out, I mentioned that I think suppression was going to be the fear, quote unquote, for snow fans with this system, as opposed to worrying about the system trending too far north and west. Now we'll see how that unfolds, but let's see. Let me throw this in here. This is the GFS model, the 0Z run. Notice that upper level low of the Baja Peninsula. We go out to 60 hours, and it's actually retrograded west. And so you end up with a less amplified solution, less phasing of the streams with that system before, when the big trough finally comes out. Now I'll say this, last thing I'll show you, that's the this is from the 0Z run, but that's the GFS ensemble mean with a low position there just northeast of the Outer Banks. Compare that to the operational, it's much more to the south. Some of the ensemble members of the GFS, at least on the 0Z run, haven't seen the 6Z yet, but on the 0Z run were more amplified. The European ensemble mean looked pretty good. So I don't think it's time for any desperation or anything like that, but it's just as I mentioned yesterday, to me it appears that there's going to be a big fear for winter weather fans, especially across North Carolina. It's going to be for suppression and that system staying off to the south and getting sheared apart. That may or may not happen, but that is the concern if you're looking for winter weather, as opposed to, in my opinion, to the system shooting up to the Ohio Valley. Now that could occur if that upper level low I showed you a moment ago were to get out in front of the system, but that's looking less likely right now. All right, that is it for today's edition of the video. Everybody have a wonderful day and weekend, and God bless.